If you're like me, you saw this 2025 MTT and thought, that's pretty cool. And then you looked closer. And just 6 droids? No detailing on the back or top? All this underutilized interior space? This set's potential greatly outweighs its delivery, so let's bring it closer to its perfect form. I've conceived 10 fixes in order to accomplish this, most of which are very easy to do, even if you don't have a big parts catalog, which I certainly don't. We will, among other things, improve the accuracy of the set, and of course try to cram in as many clankers as we possibly can in this thing. And I made it easy for you to build along with me, so let's dive in. Let's start off with the exterior of the set by rattling off some quick and easy improvements. Firstly, these cannons up front here are way too short and stubby for me, so I used these pieces right here to fix it, and you don't need the different lengths of bars if you don't want to. You can just easily pop off these old stubby cannons and just slide in these kind of grey lightsaber pieces here. I used the longer one up top here, but in universe they are as long as each other. Now let's move on to these stud shooters up top. You're probably not surprised that I want to remove these using just these 4 pieces. What you do is you just pop off this this piece, which is pretty hard, and then you take off the stud shooter itself, and then you place down a 1x1 plate, and then put back the slope right there, and then put that cheese slope to cover up the white part right there, and there we go. It's way more smooth than before. Next up, I think there were some ugly gaps on each side of the front hatch right there, and we also have this black piece right there. So all you need is these 2 pieces to fix it. I removed this thing entirely from the build, and then I just put in the 2 slopes here on either side to smooth things off, and that is all we're gonna do down here, making it look a lot more finished off, and it still works as intended right here. Up top, on the back, there is really no detailing at all, and it really looks rough in my opinion. I used these pieces to fix it. Of course, you can use pieces that are similar to get the same kind of shape here. I encourage you to go out of your way and try to find your own solutions, because I don't have a lot of parts, as I said in the intro. So I just use kind of the things that I have in my parts catalog and try to be as creative as I can with it. So just try follow along, or just get inspired by how I improve this back section, and you can do it yourself with pieces that you have, and that would work better for you. But I just try tiling things off as good as I can right here for it to look smooth and for this gradual decline kind of. And then also I removed this thing because I think it looks pretty ugly that it's so big, and then instead I put this thing, and it does make it a bit more difficult to turn, but it does work, and it does feel a lot less intrusive to me. Now, this big back hatch section is the next thing we're gonna tackle. This thing has no detail at all. We of course have to fix that with these pieces, what I used. Of course, same thing here. Try find a solution that works for you, and this is mainly just so you can get inspired. If you want to copy this design, of course, feel free to do it, but if you don't have the pieces, do something similar. For example, using more smaller slopes instead of this just big one that I've used right here, since maybe not everyone has that exact piece right there. But I finished it off like this, just so we have some depth and some sloping to it. And to this back section, I think this one, I've tried to be more accurate to the in-universe model. So here, maybe if you want to, you can follow me more closely when I'm building here. It should be dark gray or black on the back right here. And then it also has these kind of lines. I don't even know what they actually are on the in-universe vehicle. Maybe they're cables or something like that. I try to replicate these with both these rods up top and some of these pieces on the side right there. And here we go. And then all that remains is that we put these 2 together like so. And then we're going to be placing these guys back on the main model right there. There we go. The back looks like that, and then the top also looks like that. Next, let's peel off the outer layer of the vehicle and take a look at the inner workings, starting off with what you probably clicked this video for, the droid rack.
Subscribe to Brickarus for the Empire.
The measly 6 droids included here is of course not enough for a vehicle like the MTT, so we're gonna do our best to remedy that, and what I have been able to do is place in, I think, 14 droids right here. I used these pieces to accomplish that, and this tan one you can use a gray color. Next up, we'll just take a apart this entire thing right here to basically its bare bones, and you could keep some things intact if you fast forward a little bit in the video, but all these black pieces I'm throwing away. Everything that I'm gonna hold up to the camera right now are things that we won't use. So these ones we don't use, this we won't use, and these no either. Now let's start putting this thing back together, of course in the new version, and this is just going to be a simplified version of the existing droid rack, and then of course this tan piece should probably be grey. If you have a dark bluish grey one, it would be a lot nicer looking, and then just slap on some droids right here, and this is going to be the lower one, and I've had some troubles using 8 droids down here, so you can try what works for you, but I just used 3 droids on either side on the lower rack. Now, moving on to the upper rack right here, we're placing on some of these guys, and these are the most useful piece, the piece that you can't probably skip while making this modification. At least I haven't found another solution to this problem. I put them this every other stud right here, and now we're gonna start doing the actual, what do you call it, the thing that these droid racks hang upon into the droid carrier. We have to do some smaller modifications to this in order to accommodate for the new height. Since we're gonna have 2 droid racks, we're gonna be placing one a little bit further down and making some space for another one, and this is going to be a little bit more unstable as you build it compared to the normal Lego model, which is usually pretty commonplace when you do modifications like this, since Lego really cares about everything being easy to build and very having a lot of structural integrity, but as modders we care more about by any means making the improvements we need, so to speak. I'm guessing most of you looking at this video may not be children, maybe using this model just for display or something like that, and if so, it's no problem that it's a bit more difficult to put together, but I think even children should technically be able to do this, since it's not all that hard. It's just a bit finicky, especially, but until you put this 1x4 piece, it gets a lot easier. You put in this rod right here all the way through. You can do that earlier if you want to, because that was kind of tough. Also, I recommend that you take away the big disc platform that hangs above. That thing would be annoying if I would have kept it on. These pieces can also be kind of annoying to put on, the black ones, but also doable. And once you've put on these, it gets a lot more stable very quickly when you put on this plate and then the light gray plate that we put on the side right here. It just keeps everything together, and this thing is very stable once you have it going, so there's no problems with that at all. And now also this thing is at its very height limit. It does not get any taller than this. If it does, it will hit the MTT's roof. And this piece right here sits fairly loosely, but I think that's okay. I've not had any troubles with it hanging off. So let's place this back right here. This can also be a bit finicky to get done, but no big problems. And then you put the some of these guys, and these are so the top disc just kind of slide on top. I use these 1 long, but if you have 2 longs, I think maybe it's gonna have a little bit less hiccups later when you use the model itself. Stop it with one of these pieces as well, and then I put in this black one also, which I forgot previously, which does help it unfold a little bit better. Now, I have to say that there are some issues with this. This battle droid head on the edge always gets stuck for some reason. Not always, sometimes you're lucky and it doesn't. What also can happen, like here, is that the dish piece gets stuck right there. So if you do have longer of these cylinder pieces, I think that's gonna give it a larger success rate. But also sometimes when I used this, I had no problems at all getting it to work. Now, moving on to a play function that I think is sorely missing from this model, but which appeared on the 2014 one. It's the hiding spot for the step right here, and we do have sufficient space to do this ourselves. But we do have to take off this transparent floating piece, and what we do is just place a 1x2 rounded plate, like so, and then a little bit of a rod in there, and then you can just slide in the transparent pieces like in these spots, for example, and then you can just slide in the step right here, and it fits nicely. And then when you close the thing up, it really does fit. It's no problem. What can happen if you're not careful when you pull it up is it can fall off, but it for the most part really works nicely. Now this gun rack I think was super underwhelming, and I found a super quick solution to make this a little bit better. Since you do want the droids to have weapons, but you do want them to be easy to take out, I put them on this kind of thing that is able to be taken out of the MTT, kind of inspired by what held Grievous's lightsabers and the classic Grievous Starfighter. You can just slide it into place and it's super easy to take out. Moving to the front, we have this big open space. On one side here, I just put in some tools, but I recommend you to be creative about what you do with this space. So you can, for example, put in the commando droids if you want, but what I did on this side was I put some storage compartments right here. First of all, this little tiled off box right here, which I made using these pieces right here, and I used it to store some thermal detonators. This thing is really easy to build. You just put on some of these modified bricks on either side, and then a box in the middle, and tiles on either side to smooth it off like so, and then some bombs inside, and of course a tile up top so this thing is smoothed off. Then I put a rack on the side right here also, where I am storing some macro binoculars. I don't know if droids even use these, but you can put in whatever you want. You can put in some extra blasters, for example. I just used these pieces to make this, but in these sections of the video, I greatly encourage you to go out and make the modifications that you want to make. It can be similar to this, it can be completely different, it can use completely different pieces to accomplish the same thing, but just these areas are ripe for using for some extra playability or storage like so. The last area we're gonna check out is the cockpit area. I think this is a bit underwhelming, just one pilot, so I remove all of that, and I also remove these slope pieces on either side and place them back to make some more space, and these are the pieces I used to make an extra chair. First of all, we're gonna make some control panels here on either side, using some light gray pieces and some extra control panels I had, and I also made another one with this piece as well. Both of these I am placing in on either side in the front of this new seating area that I'm making to host a gunner seat for the MTT. Something that I always loved in the classic, 2006 MTT, is that you could place 2 battle droids in there. Now these pieces you may want to place first because they were really tough to get in there. I don't know why I did it in this order. Do these first if you see this before you start building. Now, let's start building another chair, and I use these brown pieces since we already had one brown backrest piece on the original set, so I thought it was fitting to keep using brown right here, and it also contrasts everything else quite nicely, kind of looking like leather. Well, I don't know why the Separatists would invest in nice leather chairs for their clankers. Well, who am I to judge? Let's put everything in right here, and then you can close everything up and put in your battle droids like so, and now we can fit 2 of them in there looking in opposite directions. You can also have them in the same direction if you just do it a little bit differently like so. And that's the last mod. In my opinion, many of these changes should already have been on the original model, especially the front cannons and this back section that lacked any kind of detail. But Legos are made to be perpetually built upon and improved, and I think a lot of people forget that. We're fans of Lego, a constructive building toy, so let's look at some ways to, instead of complaining endlessly, make our models better and have fun in the meantime. I greatly encourage you to go out yourself and make the improvements you think should be done to this model. You have probably got some ingenious solutions that I could never think of, and there is always room for improvement on any Lego model, mock or real set. Until next time, folks.